Welcome back to ArcNeo Reviews, and welcome to part 1 of the Constructicon-a-thon. Yeah, sure, we'll go with that. So what I'm going to do is, today, I'm going to take a look at all 9 Studio Series Constructicon figures on their own. Then tomorrow, we will go ahead and look at the combined Devastator mode. Now, again, as I've stated in other videos, mention it again here. For Studio Series figures, I do not do their transformations on camera anymore. They are too intricate. I have almost snapped a couple just because of the awkwardness of, again, trying to reach out over here at arm's length and do these intricate things. So, there's a reason I don't do that anymore. These figures have already been covered to death. They were a big deal when they were coming out. So, if you need transformation videos, basically I'm always going to tell you, go look at IMGO. IMGO still has some of the best on-camera transformations of, let's face it, anyone who does this kind of thing. So if you need that info, go there. But first, we're just going to run through and look at all of their vehicle modes, starting with Rampage and Skipjack. Since they have the same vehicle mode, might as well look at them together really quick like this. So, pretty straightforward. You got 2 big bulldozers on tracks. There isn't articulation on these guys, sadly, so no, you can't raise and lower the shovel or anything. They're just kind of lumps with some feet hanging off the back. And somehow I have shed on this one. But, they're pretty clean transformations, actually. They've got 3 wheels, which is a little bit interesting and kind of weird, I guess. Worth making sure, when you've got them in this mode, you will need to make sure you push this piece down to bring that wheel down to where it actually hits the ground. And do watch the top of the hydraulics here on both figures. These are separate pieces that just tab in. But, again, not really a ton to say on the vehicle modes here. They look really good. They're good and solid. They're, not gonna fall apart and untransform, which is very appreciated. Get Skipjack out of here. Go ahead and look at Rampage a little. I am really a fan of Rampage's color, actually. This kind of burnt orange, I'm not sure what to call it, actually, but it does look really good. Funny enough, there's a little bit more color difference here. There's always those pieces that are painted versus molded. Here it seems to stand out a little bit more than normal, but I don't know. We'll see what that looks like even after the video gets color corrected and stuff, but they are completely identical. Nothing to put them apart other than the colors. So moving on from them, because they're simple, we'll go ahead and look at Hightower really quick. Hightower is definitely one of the weirder of these figures. You'll especially see why when we get to his robot mode here. Definitely a good figure. This is actually one of the few I would recommend getting. Even if you don't plan on building Devastator, this one is just a lot of fun. Visible head on the bottom, kind of like you expect, but overall, pretty clean transformation, actually. You can move the little crane boom here, and then the hook claw thing will swing. It does pop off for transformation because he does have a single piece of parts forming. So keep that in mind. But, there's a reason I'm kind of just covering all these at once. The vehicle modes, they look cool. They look mostly like the things they're supposed to be. So, yeah, they're neat. He sort of rolls around a little bit. This rubber mat doesn't do him any favors. And then we'll take a look at Scrapper. Now, Scrapper is definitely one of the... he's another one of the ones that's worth getting if you just want like some individual robots, the bulldozer, front end loader, scoop machine mode, whatever, it's a little kibbly here and there, just in that it's overly technical, but it is still a really, really good looking mold, actually. It's not at least, super obvious how it transforms. This guy does have a really interesting transformation, actually. You do get, like, some articulation on the bucket. I don't know how much of it is intentional and how much isn't, but, they've done a really good job on this guy, Yeah, these inner wheels are fake and partial, unfortunately. You always get a few fake parts on these things. But, yeah, really, really good figure. Actually even manages to roll fairly well, which is impressive, because, not all these Studio Series figures actually can roll that great, so, yeah, points where it's due. And then we get to Mixmaster. And Mixmaster here is my absolute least favorite of all of these things. The vehicle mode is, like, perfectly fine. It's a well done, little Mack dump truck. If you can get to focus, it does even kind of have that weird, Decepticon head thing going on the end. There's a lot of nice detail to it. The robot mode sucks, I'm going to be honest. It absolutely sucks. And then 90% of transforming him into the head is taking this front end off, which for some reason is now stuck tonight. Yeah, there's just Devastator's head hiding underneath this thing and breaking the focus. So, yeah, overall, just gonna put it out here right now. In my opinion, Mixmaster is easily the weakest of all of these Constructicons. Fake wheels here, just obvious hands and feet up here in the back by the spout or chute or whatever you call that thing on the back of a mixer. So, yeah, lowest points here. He does at least roll. I'm mentioning this because, especially on, figures that have an alt mode with 6 wheels, it can get really, really annoying trying to actually make all 6 wheels hit the ground. If nothing else, his alt mode is solid enough that if you get it transformed right, you will not have, hover wheels going on. So that's kind of the only points I can give him. His best purpose is just being ahead. And just because I'm going kind of at random and all over the place, next we will take a look at Scavenger. Scavenger is an absolute monstrosity, and this thing is so great. Yes, it's got some pretty obvious kibble all over it. His head is just there on the back, which is kind of a bummer. But, again, these things are all triple changers, and obviously the most important part of these things, the mode that got the most priority was clearly Devastator. So the fact that he manages to pull off this big, mining scoop digger mode, whatever, the fact he pulls it off this well is actually kind of impressive. As usual, just little tiny wheels hiding in his treads. He can actually manage to roll under his own weight. Bucket actually has some articulation, which is nice, including some very hefty ratchets, which are always fun. So, it's a little messy. I'm not going to lie. Most of these are a little messy from certain angles. A couple of them are messy from all angles. This guy definitely is in the second camp, but still a lot of fun, actually. Really cool. And it's one of those alt modes that I'm shocked we don't get more often. Then next, as someone's diesel idles outside of my apartment, we're going to go ahead and take a look at Overload. And Overload is a weird one. As you can see, he does basically just have Devastator's neck stuck on the back of him, so give him the best possible chance. We will go ahead and pop that off. And he still doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I would dare say Overload here probably suffers the most just in terms of other modes being compromised for the combined mode of Devastator. This is supposed to be an articulated dump truck. So this part mounting right there is supposed to be like a trailer with a hitch, and it bends, but yeah, no, solid lump. It's all filled in. The back is uneven and completely filled with parts instead of being, the empty dump part of the dump truck. But I mean, that aside, it is still, it's covered in like really great mechanical detail. I can't, call these things too bad, because yeah, they're hindered in their articulation here and there, and they're missing a joint that the real construction vehicle would have. They have to be triple changers that turn into one of the most ridiculous looking combiners ever made. I'll give them some slack. This thing's still pretty cool. Again, it's one of those modes that I wish we would get more of, because I could see some like really cool possibilities of, have the front part here be a guy, then have the trailer either be, an attack base or, a set of armor, Ultra Magnus style. This is definitely an alt mode that they need to use more, and maybe use in a not bogged down by having to be a triple changing combiner figure, but still pretty cool. As usual, rolls great. So there's Overload. And next we'll go ahead and take a look at Scrap Metal, the other little deluxe class guy. Also known as the Little One. So yeah, this is actually a character who was like ripped apart by the Decepticons just for spare pieces, like just a couple minutes into the movie, but then somehow he was still part of the Devastator combiner somehow. Little rolling wheel in the front, two little ones in the back. Very articulated bucket, actually. For all of the Transformers backos I've dealt with lately, which is shockingly quite a few, actually, he does have one of the better articulated buckets. I kind of wish the upper platform here could rotate, but, again, this thing has to be a triple changer, combiner, blah, blah, blah. Sacrifices, Devastator. I have said it before, not going to waste too much time saying it again. Really fun on his own, kind of generic, but still really fun. And again, he is funny because, he was like immediately killed and then still showed up in the combined mode somehow without actually being there. His parts just appeared in the middle of it all. Revenge of the Fallen was an absolute disaster of a movie. I'm just going to say that now. Like, I have pretty low standards for movies. That one was just like 2 hours of editing and animation errors that they've spent years making comics to try and explain away. So, but yeah, little Scrap Metal, the Little One, pretty good figure. And finally we come to Long Haul. And Long Haul's a bit of a weird one. So, right off the bat, I have to say, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I never can seem to get him to transform correctly. As you can see, I'm having to like squeeze in a little bit on these back pieces here to get him to tab on. I just can't get that to line up right no matter what I do. And when I try squeezing that in, things disconnect other places. I'm sure I'm either doing something wrong or I got QC'd, but either way, still pretty decent looking dump truck. I mean, other than his hands being in here, there is at least like some room in the back, which is nice at least. He tries to hide his head. And if nothing else, actually, all his wheels roll. Now, yes, this is, one wheel molded to look like two wheels, but they do both move at least. Looks really great. Again, tons upon tons of detail all over the place. Looks great. I'm doing something wrong, but easily with these guys, these vehicle modes are pretty, they were last priority on the designer's lists, and it shows. So let's go ahead, get these guys in robot mode, and check them out. Okay, so first for the robot modes, we are back with Skipjack and Rampage. And these guys are so incredible, actually. I forget how much I love their robot modes. Because I looked mostly at Skipjack last time, I'm going to look more at Rampage here. They're like they're lobsters, basically. That is just so cool to me. The face is insane. I love the way that face looks. Yeah, new camera, who dis? I'm still working out the kinks. Sorry if the focus is being a little weird. But, they've got really good range of articulation and posability despite their weird body shapes. You still get kind of the tread whips coming off of the hand. You get these big posable claws, which are just terrifying looking and awesome. I wish that these guys had a little bit better posability. They have no form of elbow, actually. Though, it kind of makes sense when you mess with them in hand. But, yeah, other than, I think this bit of cab on the tail is really the only part that I would call bad. And even there, it's kind of, I'm hesitant to do it. Because, yeah, it does kind of break up the flow of the body a bit. But they still look so cool, so crazy. Molded detail just coming out of their noses, basically, if they even have noses. It's also nice, because they are such a weird shape, they have a little stand that they plug into. This just hides up underneath the bulldozer, track thing mode. I have a hard time telling the million construction equipments apart. I'm sorry. But, they've got, they come with a stand. They've got these really cool, really crazy looking designs. Put him off to the side here, grab Skipjack. So you can see, again, exactly the same thing, just in yellow. Though the yellow probably does make some of his details. They actually kind of blend in a little more because the silver doesn't pop as much. But as far as I can tell, it's the exact same molded detail, exact same everything, just dark orange, yellow. Still looks so cool. It's so much fun. It's so ridiculous. And you also have to remember, Rampage here is probably the smartest Decepticon. Or, not Decepticon. Constructicon. That's the word I'm looking for. The smartest Constructicon in all of Revenge of the Fallen, since you actually hear him say Sam's name. I know that's not much, but this is like the one Constructicon we heard say a word that wasn't in Cybertronian. That's kind of neat in my opinion. So, yeah, that's these guys. They're really cool. And here we have the absolute majesty that is Hightower's robot mode. Oh my word, this thing is... This is the Constructicon I want to buy a second one of. Technically, I guess in like extended lore canon, there is a green and purple Constructicon with this body shape running around called Hook. So, yeah, apparently Bayverse Hook looks like this. And I want that figure made in the full deluxe class, not just the Japanese Easy collection. I love the way this looks. The crazy, bendy, posable stilt legs here. Little itty bitty T-Rex arms going on. There's even an extra hinge in his crane tower here so that, it actually locks flat while he's in, crane mode, and it's bending on this lower axis. But then for this mode, you actually crane it forward a little bit. It disconnects, comes down here. He can literally pick his brain if he needs to. It's just, there's nothing else like this guy, and it's so fun. I can't get over that part enough. This is fun. I'm turning 30 later this year. I look at this weirdness and I smile, okay? This is so good, so much fun. Definitely, this is easily the top recommendation. If you're only getting one Constructicon, get Hightower. It's the weirdest thing you'll ever see in your life, and it will bring you infinite pleasure. Let's see if anyone gets that reference. But, yeah, this thing is so good. Okay, and next we have Scrapper, as I deal with my squeaky chair. And, yeah, hopefully you can see here why. There's a reason I recommend this guy if you're as one of the ones to get if you're not going to get all of the Constructicons. This is such a unique, really cool figure. I actually love that, really long, flat head that he's got. He does have a little bit of a neck even to look around with, so again, you end up getting pretty good posability. The big word of warning with him is watch out for these smokestacks in the back. They fold into kind of a weird place, and yeah, remember that whole I don't transform studio series on camera because breakage and stuff? I did actually break this one off while it was transforming, even off camera. Thankfully, I was really, really careful with applying the Gorilla Glue, and it is back in place and almost impossible to tell. But yeah, again, I'm an idiot, so that's why I don't like to do these things on camera when I can avoid it. But, he's got a bit of the whole no real hands syndrome going on here with this weird, extendo grabber, granny grabber hand here, and then just a small wrecking ball for the hand over here. But he ends up being really, really posable. Only thing that's kind of lacking is some knee and foot articulation. But, when you consider just how much this guy has to move, it's, it's understandable that that's all the more knee we get. There is even some in and out hip articulation if you want. So you do get a lot to work with here. And he looks so cool. I can't overstate that part enough. This thing looks amazing. If you don't plan on building Devastator, it is genuinely worth just getting this guy, popping him out of the box, and keeping him just like this. He's such a good robot mode. Cannot recommend Scrapper enough. Great figure. And moving on, here we have Mixmaster. And, yeah, hopefully here this kind of shows why Mixmaster is my least favorite of these guys. I know this is what he looks like in the movie. This is, accurate. But I just don't find this guy fun. This whole transformation is just kind of fiddly to mess with. Then, you've got generic looking legs. They work at least. Well, this one's joint is a little bit loose, but, that's whatever. Another one of the kind of more generic looking faces for these guys. But then you just have all this crap on his shoulders. It's I know in the movie he kind of used these pieces as a shield, and at one point he set himself up and became a gun turret. That's actually pretty neat. As far as I've been able to find, there's not really a turret mode on this guy. there's like some fan versions of it. As usual, I don't cover fan modes in my videos. And this guy on his own, he's a mess. I'm sorry, he's a mess. I know there are some people who do like this guy. I do not fall into that category. I don't. I have this guy because I needed a head for Devastator. He doesn't even transform the cab at all. It's like, yes, I know we're using this to hide the mouth of Devastator, even though his teeth are right there because you're supposed to flip this panel up. But it's like, it comes off a little bit lazy and just, yeah. It's not the worst thing, but it's definitely, as a standalone figure, the least fun of all of these Constructicons. Next, we'll go ahead, take a look at Scavenger. This is easily the most insane robot mode you will ever see. Yes, he now has a big giant wheel made by folding up his treads that he rolls around on, and he holds himself up with his arms. I love this thing. I love this thing so much. I love how unique some of these robot designs are. That face is just... that is insane. It's so good. A lot of the joints on this guy are actually nice big ratchets, which is nice because, there is even larger insanity to come. Yeah, his buckets come out and become these big claw hands. You even get like some articulation here with the wheel. So, it's funny, it's a very, very strange figure, but he ends up having actually like some pretty decent, posability and personality. You have to mess with him a little bit to get it, but man, once you get it, it is incredible. And this is actually one of two guys who has the potential of a repaint, because if anyone remembers in that movie, the very first Decepticon we saw that they hunted down in China, it was this guy, but in white, and apparently named Demolisher. So, it's possible, and I am actually holding out hope that we get this guy in like a red and white paint scheme, because that would look so cool as the torso of Devastator. But either way, yeah, this guy looks absolutely ridiculous. Is easily going to be one of the most unique Transformers you would ever have in your collection, and I have infinite recommendation for this guy. And coming in with arguably the second weirdest robot mode, here we have Overload in his robot mode. And yes, we have a four-armed Decepticon here, which you think this is weird. You should see the old like concept art, since we never saw his actual robot mode in the movie. The concept art for it actually called to also have like four legs as well. Bring him in here so you can see the face, if I can get the camera to cooperate. The camera does not want to cooperate. I can understand why I do not want to cooperate. Oh my word, that's one of the uglier faces on these, and that's saying something. But yeah, really, really fun, very unique. He's got some ratchets here and there, mostly in the shoulders, but on his own, he's mostly okay. Mine's got a couple loose-ish joints, but I'm sure I can tighten them up if I actually put in the effort. Still something so fun and so weird about having a robot with this many arms on it. I wish there was like an extra hinge here so you could rotate these arms and do a little more with them, but again, they did some imaginative stuff with these things. So I have to give him credit, you know? He doesn't look too bad from the other, the other sides and stuff. Yes, all these guys have quite a bit of kibble. They are made for Devastator first and foremost, but this is just really, really cool. I really like this. I would like to see more Decepticons that look like this. That's the part of the movies I probably loved the most, is these weird, alien designs on the Decepticons. It works for me. It does it for me. That's the one thing I will always give these movies credit for. These weird Decepticon robot modes. And really quick here, we have Scrap Metal, the little one. And he is definitely the little one. He is probably the smallest of all of these Decepticons, or Constructicons. He's the smallest of the guys we're looking at today. His robot mode, unfortunately, doesn't hold together the best. Mainly these shoulders they don't actually tab in to their slots, and so they just kind of flop around. Could be my copy, could be a wider spread issue, not sure. Face is oddly generic, actually. Kind of just looks like most of the nameless Decepticon figures that came out around the time of the movie. His posability is pretty good. His shoulders actually shift up and down. And there's a ball joint in the shoulder itself. You get a ball joint there and a double jointed wrist. You actually have like little graspy, grabby hands. Even though this one's a little bit hard to open back up if you close it by accident, so be careful. But, he's a very simple, very small figure, but he does end up being pretty fun. Sadly, you don't get that fun little, stand up the bucket for a scorpion tail mode like you do on some digger bots, but, overall, really fun. He does have backwards knees, which is weird, but pretty neat, actually. So, you have that. Again, he's a fun, fine little figure, but he still kind of ends up being the most generic. There's a reason probably that in the movie they just kind of ripped him into pieces and used him to repair Megatron. So, there you have him. And finally, here we have, again, Long Haul. And, this guy probably does end up being, like, the most generic of the generic when it comes to these guys. But he does make a fantastic robot, I do have to say. The issues that I have with his, truck mode not holding together, complete non-issues here. Everything holds together fine. I need to find a way to tighten up this waist ratchet a little, because that's also Devastator's ankle, which means, that wobble is a problem for Devastator. But I love the face on this guy. For some reason, it makes me think of somewhere between Predator and a crab. I'm not even sure why I think of a crab when I see that, but I do. But, overall, he's really, really well posable. He's got, actually kind of normal hands. He might even be able to hold something in there. Yeah, actually, they did mold that round so he can hold stuff. I don't have anything nearby to grab, but he can do that. Insanely tight ratchets on him in some places because, again, he literally forms an entire leg of Devastator. So, they gave him the strong ratchets where it matters. Really, really neat design. Again, some junk on the back. Who cares? He looks really cool. And, I like all of these figures just on their own, aside from Mixmaster. And, yes, I recommend a couple of them above the others if you're going to get them as standalone. But next video, we're going to look at the reason why, if you can, you really should get all of them. So, I'll see you guys then.